Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and I'm bringing you the first and pretty much last story time for the Warzone Apothis narrative campaign. And so in this story time, I am basically going to recap the 60 plus games that we have had up to this point and set the stage for the final games that we'll be playing amongst the staff members, all of the faction commanders, to determine the overall winner or where the narrative is going with Warzone Apothis. I understand that there hasn't been as much narrative as you would like throughout the whole campaign. It's been a bit of a whirlwind of an experience trying to just keep up with everything, and so hasn't been as much as I would like either. So hopefully this recap gives us a bit of a semblance of what has been going on, and then we can still see some of this stuff appear in future narrative campaigns, which will be returning to the normal style of story times and battle reports going back and forth. So there's a lot more character development and everything else. This one was meant to be more of a larger stage battle system where there wasn't as much attention to the detail. So when we look at everything, their final state is looking pretty grim for the AdMech and also the Chaos, with Necrons and Tyranids doing really well. What basically happened early in the campaign, the Tyranids took a bit of an early lead, able to take over more of Ixia and also other areas such as Dusal and even a bit on Vadarak, the Forge world. And later on, then we saw the Necrons start to awaken and start to arrive as Khnum started to lead his forces to try to take pretty much as many manufactorums as was possible. He was interested in both crippling the production of the AdMech as well as assimilating it or using it to whatever forces he could, especially because on Vadarak, there's actually a Necron tomb world under there that the AdMech have been trying to tap into. He's also very interested in Finet, but only started to land some forces on there to take it over from the Chaos, who are currently delving into the mines and trying to destroy the null field device, which would allow them to enact their chaotic ritual. Early on in the campaign, there was a lot of fighting on the world of Amon, but the Chaos just weren't able to get a good foothold. In fact, we even saw that some of the gods of Chaos seemed to be working against what was going on here, particularly Tzeentch, which later on maybe we'll find out why that happened. But the Chaos's goal was to take over the worlds that were all part of the warp convergence, enact their great ritual, and plunge this entire portion of this sector into the warp and create a new portal into real space, allowing them to bring even more demons and chaos to assault humanity from a new front. But they just weren't able to really get a good foothold. They didn't lose everything, but between the Necrons and the Tyranids invading, most of the Chaos forces were always just kind of kept at bay. And as the Tyranid forces grew, the Shadow and the Warp grew, and it started making it even harder for demons to be summoned in as reinforcements. They had a little bit of success over on Ixia, able to take over a portion of the planet, but where the Chaos's real success came later in the campaign, when they actually revealed that there was several chaotic cults in the major hive cities of Dusal. In fact, right here, there's 5 major hive cities. One of them has been consumed by the Tyranids by the end, but 3 others were totally under the control of Chaos. Billions and billions of humans from the Imperium were under the influence of Chaos at that point. And so this world, as much as the Tyranids have a good foothold on it by the end, Chaos also had a really good foothold there as well. Necrons were kind of there. Unfortunately for the AdMech, right off the bat, they started losing ground. They just weren't able to take on the combined forces of the Necrons coming from one direction, the Tyranids coming from another, and the Chaos, even at one point on Vadarak, were showing interest in some of the manufactorums for their own purposes, of course. Between all of that, slowly, about midway through the campaign, the AdMech were able to regain some of the ground as there were Space Marine reinforcements coming in. But then the Grey Knights and Dark Angels showed up, and we had a very interesting exchange on both Valonium and also on Vadarak, as there was the Grey Knights interested in finding out why the AdMech were having rumors of tapping into Xenos technology. And all of a sudden the Grey Knights were fighting against the AdMech, and the Dark Angels was there as well. And they succeeded in battering down the AdMech even more when they were starting to come back, which only led to more Tyranid and Necron infestation, and even some Chaos infestation, ironically, as they were pushing back the AdMech. So that did not help the AdMech's purpose, that even they were besieged by the Imperium, which normally was their ally. Early on in the campaign as well, the Eldar showed an interest in Vadarak by coming in and actually helping the Admech for a while. And they had some success and some failure, and then they disappeared. We didn't really see them for the rest of the campaign. There was a bit of Tau involvement, there was some Orc involvement, but the Eldar is always a mystery. We still don't know why they came in and helped for a short period of time, and then also pulled away, and then Vadarak started to fall horribly. So maybe the Eldar had something to do with the fall of the Admech on Vadarak. We're not going to find out in this campaign, but maybe in a future campaign we'll find out more hints or learn more about those particular Eldar. In the end, however, the Necrons were successful in taking over most of Vadarak. There's a good, strong Tyranid presence there, but not nearly as strong as a Necron presence, especially because Khnum was successful in starting to reanimate and open up the Tomb World to get even more reinforcements. He has to work hard to get past all the Admech. The Admech basically locked it up so that they could go into each part of the tomb bit by bit without activating everything. So that slowed him down a bit, but he's essentially driven the majority of the Admech forces off. Finet still is under the control of the Admech at this point, and are able to maybe delve and get some more of the Necron technology before not really being able to stay in the sector anymore. So in our final battle that we're going to be having, the first one is going to be a series on Valonium. And this one will dictate whether the campaign continues to a couple more final battles or whether it just ends in a huge explosion. Because what we're going to be doing is a super fun 4-player free-for-all game on Valonium. But first there's going to be 2 other games. So there's going to be a 3-part series here where there's 3 games all published on the same day. The first 2 will be for free and the third one for the Vault. What's going to happen is the Necrons and Tyranids have mostly taken over Valonium and now are starting to delve down into the bunkers to try to get control. They've basically found a weapon that is a planet killer weapon, and if launched, can blow up an entire planet, or the Space Hulk, or the moon, whatever it is that they want to do. The Admech and Chaos, of course, want their hands on this as well, both for their own purposes. So we're going to be having a one-on-one game, and another one-on-one game. It's going to be Tyranids versus Necrons, and then Chaos versus Admech. And the whole purpose of these games is to try to get inside of the bunker where the control panel lies for the planet killer device. And so whatever forces they manage to get in during the game will then appear in the final game at the same time. We'll go over all the rules in game number 1 and you'll see what I mean. But essentially, there's a battle on the surface and game 3 is happening simultaneously down underneath. And so we'll actually keep track of when the forces get into the bunker, and that's the turn that they will arrive. And then whoever wins game number 3, which the scenario will have all the rules for in game 3, will get to launch a planet killer device and choose any of the worlds, including Valonium, or a Finet, or the Space Hulk, and totally obliterate it. Now, why this can actually finish the campaign is because if the Necrons win, their goal is going to be Dusal, because Dusal has the largest area of Tyranids, and the Tyranids are just teeming here and just feasting on the enormous amounts of biomass. And Khnum hates this Hive Fleet in particular. He hates Tyranids, pretty much all of them, but he hates this Hive Fleet in particular. And on top of that, it's where Chaos is really starting to rise, and there's still some remnants of the Admech. He doesn't care about the few Necron forces that are there. I think he can just reanimate some more. It doesn't really matter. He can just build more soldiers. But if he blows this planet up, it'll be a major blow to the Tyranids, and it'll basically make the Chaos no longer a threat in this subsector. However, the Tyranids and the Admech and Chaos all have different plans. If the Admech win, most likely their target's going to be their old Forge world, because if they can't have the secrets, then nobody can. There's not much sense in them blowing up any of the other worlds. They just don't have that much interest in them. And if Chaos wins, they'll probably blow up the world of Vadarak as well, because it's not part of the warp convergence, and it's where the largest group of Necrons is, which is the biggest threat that they have going on right now. And then if Tyranids win, their one will probably be faced on Finet, because they can sense this area that they're not able to enter because of the null field device. And if they can blow that up, then that'll let them have more of a feeding ground here in this subsector. But if either of these are destroyed, there is still a fight to be had on Dusal, mainly between the Chaos and the Tyranids, to see which one reigns supreme. And then we'll have the Necron forces that can kind of come in and influence that as well. So this will really determine how much longer this campaign goes on for, but it's all just going to be finale at this point, which will all come out this week. So we're going to put links below, because today those 3 games are going to be published. There will be links to game 1, 2, and 3. Game 1 and 2 are the one-on-one. It's me versus Steve, Necrons versus Tyranids, and then Dave versus Leland, Admech versus versus Chaos. And then the 3rd game is going to be a 4-player free-for-all with all 4 of us in a small Zone Mortalis map with all those armies coming on in to see who gets to blow up a planet. So go ahead and click the links below. And remember, if you're not a Vault member, you can still click on Game 3 and get your free 7-day trial and get instant access to that one, as well as all the other thousands of battle reports and behind the scenes and all the quick tips and everything else. And even if you decide to cancel before the 7 days is up, you have no limitations while you are a Vault member. And then we hope that you stick around, of course, because it helps support us and continue to make videos like these ones and our other narrative campaigns and battle reports and our studios and all of that. So go ahead, click the links below. Thanks for watching, and happy wargaming.